So here we go. In the next problem that we have in front of us, we see that it says, how many meters of rope did he cut off? Okay, so let's go ahead and think about this problem here because we want to make sure that we don't get caught up in the numbers or the fractions or the decimals or whatever. Here it says, how many meters of rope did he cut off? So we want to know how much was removed. Now, everyone, quick question. When we typically think about the phrasing of cutting something off, what operation do we typically think of? Yeah, we typically think of subtraction. Yeah, typically when we're cutting something off or removing something, we typically think about subtraction. So that's where I believe some of the confusion where this problem can come in, because we see that it's saying cut off, and then when we read the actual phrasing here, it says a rope is this long, and Tom cut off this much of the rope for a project. So we might be thinking like, oh, we're subtracting, but actually, this is a multiplication problem. Because everybody, are we looking for, one, are we looking for how much we cut off? Or two, are we looking for how much rope is left? You tell me. One, how much rope we're cutting off? Or two, how much rope is left? What are we actually looking for here? Yeah, we're just looking for how much we cut off. We don't care about how much is left. That's not what the problem is asking for at all. Think about it. Take a look. How many meters of rope did he cut off? Everyone, that does not say how much or how many meters of rope is left. That is not what it says at all. That's not what it says at all. So I know a lot of us want to subtract and do the 2/3 and subtract after the fact, but it's just not necessary. To do this problem the right way, right over here in the purple highlight, it says we cut off 2/3 of the rope. Everyone, the word of in math, what does that translate to if I say 2/3 of the rope? Yeah, the word of is multiplication. The word of is multiplication. Now a little pop quiz. The phrase out of tells us what operation? The phrase out of indicates division. Correct. So let's go ahead and get into it here. We have 2/3 of the rope. The word of translates to multiplication right over here. So we have 2/3 multiplied by something. And so everyone, how long was the rope again? We're going to go ahead and just insert that here into our expression. What is that going to be? The length of that rope is right here. That'll be 12.6 meters. So with that said, boom, we'll plug that right in, 12.6. And now all we have to do is multiply. So here's how we're going to go about it. When it comes to multiplying by a fraction, there are a couple of ways you can go about it. But the simplest way to understand this is that this number up top is going to multiply this number. This number on the bottom, everybody, is going to divide. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply by 2 first, and then I'll divide by 3 after. You can divide by the 3 first and multiply by the 2 after. It really doesn't matter, but just know that the top number is multiplication and the bottom is division. So let's go ahead and get after it here. So 12.6 multiplied by 2. That's going to be 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 2. Then we have 2 times 2 is 4, carry the 1 is 5. And then we have 1 times 2, which is 2. At the end, what we'll do with those decimals is we'll bring 1 decimal back. So that'll be 1 decimal there, 1 decimal back. So what we have here is 25.2. Again, this was the part where we just did 2 multiplied by 12.6. That's what that was. So now we have 25.2 divided by 3. And so that's what we're going to do now. 25.2 divided by 3. We'll just go ahead, write that out, and then just make sure that our decimal lines up exactly where it is. So there it is. And so now here we go. 3 into 25, that's going to be 8, because 3 times 8 is 24. We subtract that, leaving 1 left over, bringing that 2 down, and that makes 12. So with that, we have 3 going into 12, and that will be 4. And so because of the place valuing that we've set up, This is going to be 8.4 meters. That's how much rope was cut off. Not how much is left, because that's not what we're caring about. That's not what we're looking for. That's how much rope was cut off. And so again, that's why the correct answer here is answer choice C. All right, so next problem here, and the first thing as always is reading the question sentence. What is the total budget after the credit? Okay, one more time. So we want to know what the total budget is, but I'm going to make sure we highlight this after the credit. So that's definitely a condition of the problem, definitely something we want to pay attention to. So with that said, again, what is the total budget after the credit? Let's figure out what that budget is, and then let's figure out what the credit is, and what does it sound like we're going to do with a credit that's going towards a budget. Yeah, that's going to be subtraction. Absolutely. Because if we're talking about how much something is going to cost, and then we incorporate a credit into it, you're crediting towards that cost. So that means you are going to pay less. So just keep that in mind as we bring the information together and see what we can do about that. So here we are. An event budget includes 3 speaker fees at $120 each, $140 stage rental, $150 sponsor credit, and $45 for printing. So it was a little sneaky there, right? A little sneaky, but there it is. There is that credit. Let me go ahead and highlight that. And then we also have everything else. 3 speaker fees at $120 a piece. So that will be 3 times 120. We have $140 stage rental fee, which is going to be another add-on. So $140 just being added on. And then that credit is what we will take away. And then don't forget it, very easy to get it mixed up. We have $45 for printing. So we will incorporate that as well. That will be added on top because again, that is towards that budget. So there we are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 operations here. We're going to be multiplying, then adding, and subtracting, and then adding again. But we can probably do a little bit of mental math here to kind of work our way through this a little easier. And I'll show you that in a moment. So first and foremost, everybody, when we perform 3 multiplied by 120, what is that going to give us? 3 times 120, that's going to give us 360. Right on. Now from there, let's take a look at this. We have $140 minus 150 plus 45. If you wanted to look at this in a much neater way for mental math purposes, you can actually hook together the plus 45 and the plus 140, because that'll get us to what? 140 plus 45 is 185. Everybody, if we think about it like that, and then we subtract the 150, what's the difference? What is 185 minus the 150? What is that going to give us? A clean 35, right? That is a clean 35 that we know that we are adding on. We are adding that to the end because we had a positive 185. We subtracted 150 and it remained positive. So we are adding this back on to the end. So with that, my party people, what are we adding it on to? That 360 right here. 360 plus 35. What does that end up at? 395 right there. 395, and that is the budget. After we took care of the $150 sponsor credit, boom, we got our budget down to $395, which is going to be answer choice A. And there we are, my party people. There we are. Again, the correct answer is A.